welcome to the porch. Pull up a chair, sit back, relax, enjoy the show. Now here's your host, Michelle Barras and Brian Swanson. Hey, how you doing?
Dun, 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 dun.
That'll rock your world getting into this and liven things up a little bit. You know, some of those people have those little flowery intros and things. But anyhow, welcome to Denim and Pearls. I'm Brian Swanson.
I'm Michelle Barras.
And we are business casual.
With pearls of wisdom.
From the porch. You realize we have never said that perfectly straight through.
Well, I normally start it, so it's kind of funny that I had to do it the backwards way.
So today is called I Can Only Imagine. And we have got some really neat things to go through today. And I guess, where do we start with this? I can only imagine where we start.
I can only imagine also.
Oh, what we should do, though, is probably let's get the sponsors out of the way here real quick.
Yes. We'd like to thank our wonderful sponsors for Denim and Pearls. We have ASquared Promotions. You can find them at a2promos.com. If you want any gadgets, gizmo, or swag for your business, you want to go to a2promos.com. Next is Harmonized Brain Centers, harmonizedbraincenters.com. If you're looking for sleep deprivation help, PTSD help, anything that goes with your brain or your neurological senses, if you're in Tennessee or Colorado, look up harmonizedbraincenters.com. They can help you out with so many things that go around with your brain. And the next is Inc. 182, inc182.com. And what they do is all embroidering. So hats, shirts, jackets, bags, you name it. If you need the kind of swag to carry your brand around, it's inc182.com. Last is LymEvents.com, LYMEVENTS.com. And they do a lot of the running things. So they do like the marathons and the Santa runs. But look them up because events are opening up. We are COVID opening, so they will be out and running around doing more events. So look up LymEvents.com. And on March 27th and 28th, the band Vehicle is doing a live show here in Colorado Springs on the 27th and 28th. They have 2 shows each day. You need to register on their Facebook page. It's an event page. Those Thrilling Days of Yesteryear. So look up Vehicle, Those Thrilling Days of Yesteryear, and you can go to their concert. They have afternoon concerts, and then they have a dinner concert at night. So look them up, find them, because they're an amazing band. They do great covers, and they have a lot of original songs. Back to you, Mr. Brian.
I'm looking to see how to turn everything off. There we go. I've got this whole thing in my head. I can only imagine everything today. I can only imagine if it works. I can only imagine if it doesn't work.
Well, we were thinking about how I can only imagine about, all the things in business and life where we wonder and we ponder. And, I guess I never said that part about Denim and Pearls.
Yeah, we'll get to that. They can read that for now. All the Denim and Pearls, catch us on Facebook Live and YouTube Live and all those other fun things.
And, if you'd like to be part of the sponsorship, write us at Denim and Pearls podcast at gmail.com. So I can only imagine in life and business, how many times have you been afraid to what's next, where you're guessing on what's coming next and you do, oh boy, I don't like that. I want to do that. And you step back. I mean, right? I mean, we do it all in business.
Well, I don't think I can only imagine can be anything. It doesn't also have to be a negative outlook. It can be a positive outlook. It's kind of like, when I was working with Linda and we were doing Galaxy Fest and stuff, we were picturing these things of grandiose scale. And it's kind of like, shoot for the moon and you might make the clouds.
Shoot for the stars, you'll hit the moon.
Or something like that. Because sometimes we have to start our pictures and imagine that great, huge task ahead or what it's going to look like. And, we look at Denim and Pearls and we go, those 1.5 million viewers that watch us every week. Okay. I mean, that's really cool, but we're shooting for the moon and it's not quite there yet. Okay. It will be.
We dream big. Dream big. Why dream small and then overshoot? Might as well dream big and outshoot that one.
Right. And one of my favorite quotes of all time is, do you like quotes?
You know I do.
Okay. So one of my favorite quotes, right?
No.
Keep your feet on the ground. Wait, how'd it go?
Keep your feet
Oh
on
my goodness, I totally lost it.
Keep your feet on the ground and keep looking at the stars.
Reaching for the stars.
Yeah.
Keep your feet on the ground, keep reaching for the stars. Casey Kasem.
Mm-hmm.
Yep, I'll never forget that. And, we talked earlier in one of the other shows that music was my deal.
Yep.
And that's probably why I love that song so much, or that quote for so much.
Well, and honestly, I believe that we should all keep our feet on the ground, keep stable, but keep dreaming. I mean, and what comes in my head is a song. Someday we'll find it, the rainbow connection, the lovers, the dreamers, and me.
Is that a Broadway musical that I don't know?
It's Kermit the Frog from the Muppet movie. Remember, he's sitting in a boat, and he's in the frog in his pond. He goes, "Somebody." You don't remember that? Oh,
it's not about being green, is it?
No, he was,
because that's the only Kermit song I'm aware of.
He sings the Rainbow Connection about the dreamers because he wants to make this big thing with the Muppet movie and the Muppet Show, and he can't find people to come with him, and he ends up going on a road show, and that's when he meets Fozzie Bear, and they get in the car and they go on this road trip and they start picking up more Muppets. It's the Rainbow Connection. It's what we're doing together. We are gathering groups of people, just makeshift people that do different things, and we're coming together. And we're all getting on this big bus, and we're going to reach this rainbow connection, and we're going to do what we're going to do. We can only imagine. So you might as well imagine big.
Right. And imagining big is like crazy because, when you turn around and you look at something like I was saying with Galaxy Fest and stuff, we had this big plan and grandiose plan, but it didn't quite make it there. But you know what? If we wouldn't have had the big plan,
we would have never had it.
We would have never had it in the first place. I mean, if you think about it, one of the things that we did with Galaxy Fest was mermaids. Remember the mermaids?
Oh, I remember the mermaids.
So we put the mermaids in the pool upstairs. Well, that originally started out as doing something unique. And then we had this thing pictured where there would be like green screens and stuff around the pool. And you could take pictures with the mermaids and you could do all of this kind of stuff. And I mean, it was like really grandiose on what we can do. And what did it end up being? One little place to take pictures and the mermaids swimming in the pool. And the one thing that did get added that was neat that we didn't expect actually was when we got somebody who could actually take pictures underwater.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah. So if you were to go back and you could actually find pictures that are shot underwater. So it's really kind of cool.
Well, the mermaids were sitting in front of me in my booth with Jurassic Thunder. So I got to meet the mermaids quite up close and personal.
Nice. And then when we had the comic book store, you open, and when we talked about this earlier too, is, you throw a shingle on the outside, as they used to say in the old days for your store, you throw up your shingle and everybody's supposed to come in the door. Well, we had this idea that we just were better than everybody else and we could do things this way and we could do things that way. And we would always have the place would always be full of people.
Because you're cool.
But, yeah. I mean, it had me in it. What can I say? It had me there, but it didn't work out that way. It worked out that we were kind of at the beck and call of the weather, the construction, the tourists that were coming in or the tourists that weren't coming in. What's that?
I said the tourists that weren't coming in. Exactly.
So it changed our plans, but we could only imagine what it was going to look like from the beginning, and then it will develop into itself. And of course, we can also make things happen when we imagine them.
Well, I'm curious about those of you who are out there listening right now. When you started your business, what did you imagine? What did you see? And do you still see it? I mean, really? I mean, no one starts business doing, I'm going to start a business, so I'm going to make money. I have no idea what I'm going to do. I'm just going to, no, we dream about it. We think about what we're going to do. And we have these great plans. And, one of these days, I'm going to make so much money. I'm going to be helping people. I'm going to be on the beach with my feet in the sand with an umbrella drink and some cabana boy giving me drinks. We get we get to the end before we get into the middle of what actually is going to make it all happen. And so what can you imagine? What have you imagined? And what part of that imagination of your business or your life, all these little girls saying, I'm going to get married. The prince is going to come save me. I'm going to have 2.3 children, a dog, a cat, a house, and 2 cars.
You forgot the white picket fence.
On the white picket fence. Yeah. And, I'm going to work on the parent teacher association and I'll always look like Miss Cleaver because I'm always going to be perfect. Really? So whatever that dream is, what did you have in your head? How much of it did you accomplish and how much of it have you just let go? Because
And
a little bit of that dream needs to stay alive in order for you to keep moving.
that's for sure. And you'll have people out there too. And I'm sure there's somebody watching us that goes, I fell into this business by accident.
Yeah.
But you know what? Even if you fall into it by accident, as soon as you realize it, then your dreams change. And your perspective shoots up and your imagination goes wild and what you can do with this and how many people you can help and how much money you can make and all that kind of stuff. And then we kind of skip over the fact that it's going to take, like 14 hours a day and taxes and business life.
That's all the non-fun stuff. I want to dream.
So, but even on the fact of, having that falling into it business, it always changes. We always have that. And even with our families, I mean, look at the fact of when you found your mate, oh, this is what it's going to be like. And in 60 years when we die together and holding each other's hands,
on the rocking porch on the chair.
Exactly. Somewhere we're going to die together holding hands underneath a maple tree, and we're going to be rich to the moon, or
our grandchildren are going to be all around us giving us flowers. Yeah.
Only because they have to. Those grandiose ideas. I mean, it can be in our personal life and it can be in our business life. It can be almost anywhere. But I really drew this song. I don't know if you're familiar. I think you're familiar with the song, but I Can Only Imagine is about finding Jesus. And what are you going to do when you finally meet him? What's it going to be like? What are you going to do? Are you going to get out on one knee? Are you going to shake in your boots? So that's what brought this up, because I'm kind of dealing with a lot of that stuff, and we'll cover that later on. But it's something that we can't see. We can only imagine it. We can only imagine what we're going to do when we come to that point. How are you going to act when somebody comes to you and says something's really, really bad? Or how are you going to act when you find out that, your best friend stole from your house? We can all dream of what we're going to do, but we can only imagine what we're going to do.
Yeah. You won't know until it happens.
Yeah, there's so many things we just don't know. I picture a lot of times when you're driving down the street in a car or something like this, and somebody sideswipes you. What are you going to do to protect yourself? Well, I'm going to dive under the steering wheel, or I'm going to crawl up in a ball. I'm going to pull my legs up so that I don't get hurt. There's all these things that you can imagine on what you're going to do, but you really don't know until the day it happens. Well, it happens that fast.
I'm thinking, like, I was driving down a dark road out here by us in Colorado, and I'm driving like at 10 o'clock at night, and a deer jumps out in front of me. I mean, right in front of me. And my first reaction was, oh God. I mean, deer are, for those of you who have never seen a deer out live in a person, they look like that you could hit them and they would die and your car would be fine. No, they go right through the car. So, I mean, to have that happen, my reactions were so instinctual. It was slam on the brakes, turn to the left, but I had to turn away from where he was moving, or I would hit him again. I mean, it's just all these terrible things that go through your mind. And then the other thing that just came through my mind was, you can only imagine when someone tells you you're going to die. I mean, when they told me I had 3 months to live, my original thought I would have cried, lost my mind, and ran out the room, or just crumbled up. And what I did was, bring it. I got 3 months. Let's do this. It was not what I expected to come out of me, but that's what came out of me. So you never know what's really going to come out. You can put the scenario as much as you want. And that's why I always tell people, SWOTs, always have your strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats, because you want to have a basic idea of how you may react in all the different situations. Because when you can't imagine, or you can only imagine, you want scenarios so you have options when it happes.
Right. Yeah, options plays a real big part in it, because I think I would do this, but I may not. And I think, a lot of the stuff that's why we practice in the military. When something's going to go down, we don't wait for it to happen. We practice like it's real. And so you can come up and solve a lot of those problems, so that when the real problem arises, you're prepared for it. whether it's A, B, or C, you know which one to choose.
Yeah, your brain's already went, okay, A, B, C, D, it's not going to work. We got to start at F, that kind of thing.
Exactly. For some reason, I don't know what it is. When I was thinking about that, I was thinking about a yo-yo. Why was I thinking about a yo-yo? I can only imagine with a yo-yo. And for those who even know what a yo-yo is, I can only imagine if I swing it around and smack myself in the back of the head.
I was really good at yo-yos, so.
I was good at yo-yos, but I was terrible at nunchucks.
So think about what you can only imagine in your life, in your business. And what have you not started? What have you stopped dreaming about? What have you stopped imagining about? And keep that in mind while we go into our commercials and stuff. What do you think, Brian?
Got it.
Amazing E brings you great entertainment. Start with the Vehicle Core 4 band of guitar, drums, bass, and hand percussion with 4 male vocals and build from there. Add another guitar, the horn section, and up to 5 female vocalists, and every genre of music is covered.
The musicianship just exceeded my expectation.
Just one word, awesome. The whole experience was awesome.
We write and produce custom dinner theater shows or can perform any other script.
It was a lot of fun to be here and listen to Vehicle play.
Our performances include weddings, parties, corporate events, holiday events, birthdays, whatever.
Well, I'm Brian McGinnis, and I just thought I'd let you all know that this was a great little venue. It's been really fun to have some live music for the first time, probably for me, at least a year. So I really appreciate this little venue starting up, and I would suggest you all come out and give them a try.
Your guests will have a great time, and we will shine like never before. Take a ride with Vehicle and let your engines roar. Come and join us March 27th and 28th for those thrilling days of yesteryear, a show about the music and times from 1920 to 1960. The shows are at 3:15 to 5:45 p.m. and 6:30 to 9 p.m., Saturday and Sunday. Look forward to seeing you there.
Thank you for joining us on the porch. We share the nuances and lessons we've garnered from throughout our combined 40 years of life experiences. Talk from the porch is always serious, but full of laughter, and we're glad you're here with us. Like, share with a friend, and please subscribe to our Facebook page and our YouTube channel. And remember, join the conversation every Friday at noon Mountain Time. We'll see you on the porch. Welcome back to Denim and Pearls.
We're back.
Something, Brian.
I was going to throw that back up there.
Well, we didn't mention anything about follow us on Apple, all the podcast forums. We're all over the place.
It was in the thingy.
It was?
It was in the 30-second thingy.
Oh, I didn't hear it. I can only imagine that it was there.
I can only imagine. I'm pretty sure I was.
Colorado Springs, March 27th and 28th. Go check out Vehicle, and their event page on Facebook is Vehicle Those Thrilling Days of Yesteryear. Their band is phenomenal, and it's cracking me up because they're a really moving band. They are always hopping around, and the last video on that is they're sitting down and they're singing, "Mom has got a squeeze box, Daddy doesn't sleep at night." And I'm like, that's the one song they sit at. The rest of them, they're all jumping around and moving around. It's pretty funny.
Okay. All right, you want to hit everybody real quick?
Yes. If you are looking for swag for your business, please go to ASquared Promotions. You can find them at a2promos.com. That's A2promos.com. Next is Harmonized Brain Centers. If you'd like to fix your brain, have a better brain, go to harmonizedbraincenters.com because they'll help you with any of the issues you may have with your neurological issues. Ink182.com is for any embroidery you may need for your business. It'd be hats, shirts, jackets, you name it, bags. Go to ink182.com. And then, of course, LymEvents.com. If you are a runner, a Santa Claus chaser, whatever you'd like to do in the exercise field, go to LymEvents.com here in Colorado.
Okay. Santa Claus chaser?
I
guess that makes sense because that's what he calls it, chasing Santa, right?
Well, you're running and you're all dressed up like Santa and you all run.
Yeah. His goal this year is, I think it was 4,000. 4,000 Santas. Yes. And they do walking and running, and they've got long distance and short distance, but you dress up as Santa Claus. and they give you your suit with your registration and everything, and it's a whole bunch of people running down the street in Santa suits. It's really cool.
Fun. Yeah, it's fun to watch.
So, anyway, only imagine. What are we talking about now?
I don't know.
Are you lost now?
Yeah. I'm completely lost. I'm like, what the heck? Okay, what's going on?
Okay, so I can only imagine. Again, we're talking about, in this episode, we're talking about what is there, what is coming up, what can we imagine that's coming up, or what can't we imagine that's coming up? What can we say that it's definitely going to look like this in 10 years, or this year in 5 years, or another year from now? I think, besides your SWOT, I think we also have to have the vision first.
Oh yeah, you always have to have a vision.
You have to have the vision first. You have to work your way.
You can't have a SWOT without a vision.
Right, because you got to work your way backwards.
Yeah.
Because the vision is the fact that I'm going to have a multi-million-dollar company and I'm going to sell it to somebody else and make $1 billion off of it. Okay, well, that's great and fine and dandy. Well, what's your product? So now you have to think about it. What are you offering that's going to create that? I mean, it's just like one of the other things too that I was thinking of, the GoFundMe's. Those people who have those products, and some of them are really cool. But think about all the ones that we don't see, that they just imagine that this is the greatest invention of all time. Everybody has to have it. I'm going to do a GoFundMe. I'm going to ask for $10,000 and I'm going to get 4.3 million.
Yeah.
I mean, think about it. And then you turn around and you look at it and you make 400 because nobody's seen it.
If you're lucky, you get 400.
Yeah.
And it's the 400 you put in yourself or something.
So I had to cough. Sorry. So yeah, we all have those imaginations. And then of course it comes down to our, like we were talking about in life too. What's those, that white picket fence and 2.3 children. And
well, speaking of that, you're going through this whole I can only imagine experience right now. Let's move into that.
You want to go into that already? That means we're going to have a short show.
I will know, because I think it'll go deeper.
Okay. We're going to dive deep.
Well, it'll branch into other things, because I think a lot more people are experiencing what you're going through right now. I mean, and They don't realize it. You're realizing because you're deep into your family right now. But we're running around like with me. I haven't seen my mother in like 3 years. Okay. Mm-hmm. I'm going through, I can only imagine what she's doing right now. You see, and she's alive. Okay? I think this conversation would be good for everyone, because not just business and life wise with, Denim and Pearls, but life is business and business is life. We're integrated as entrepreneurs, and we need to realize that we can't neglect our personal lives because we have business lives.
Well, definitely true. I mean, what is it? God, family business, or family God business? Somebody, everybody's got their different respects on it. Well, if you look at it and you've been following our story here on Denim and Pearls, I've been home helping mom since the beginning of December. Actually, I was told it was like Thanksgiving last year. So I said in another show that it was a couple months, but apparently it's been 4 months.
A long time, Brian.
So, but I've been here and I've been kind of walking us through it. Well, this past Friday, mom passed away. And that's one thing I can only imagine that we can talk about. My first thought was, how's my reaction going to be? Am I going to have tears in my eyes? Am I going to be strictly business with it? Am I going to be very solemn? How am I going to react, at the time? And when it did happen, I happened to walk in about a half a second too late into the room, and she was gone. And my first thing is logic. I work off of logic a lot more than I do emotions. So the first thing of logic is, okay, now what? Well, it just so happened that the hospice nurse was here, so I didn't have to pick the phone up and call them and say, hey, we've got a problem. This is what's going on. Because that's the normal routine. And that's what I kind of practiced in my head, that if something happened, I'd have to pick up the phone. Well, the hospice nurse happened to be there. So now I'm at, now what the heck do I do? Okay, I got to get over step 1 to get to step 2, So but again, you can only imagine what your reactions are going to be at that moment when that moment comes. And like I said, I practiced in my head that I'm going to go to the kitchen. I'm going to do it calmly. I'm going to pick up the phone. I'm going to make sure she's presentable in the bed or where the chair or wherever she might be. I wouldn't want her to be embarrassed by it, if you will. So I had all this kind of worked out in my head. Well, it turned out that none of it mattered at that moment. So, but we also go back into or continue the conversation with not just that one time, but I've been going through things, I've been going through closets and stuff, and thank goodness, Mom was not a hoarder.
That's good.
She was not a hoarder, so I am not going to be spending weeks on end trying to go through things. I have had family members who have had to do that, but I didn't have that. Mom was, in her later years, she became kind of a minimalist at certain areas, and she had gone through all the family pictures, and she sent an envelope to this kid or that kid or this grandkid, and she cleaned a lot of that stuff out. So I'm very grateful for that. Mom actually pre-planned almost everything for me. Because she didn't, one of the comments that she made at one point while I was here is she didn't want to be a burden. She didn't want her death and her sickness for me to be here and to me be a burden, to be a burdened upon.
Well, and we've got to clarify, you are an only child.
I grew up an only child, yes. But I've had a lot of my cousins help, and her eldest son, his help. We've had a lot of this family stuff going on, and we've had a lot of help from everybody. Right. But it's also kind of fun to learn how the relationships were. I imagine my mother, part of my story is I didn't have probably the rosiest childhood. So I look back at part of that, and that was part of my, my introspection, if you will. But my picture of my mother is the grouchy old woman down the street when I'm not here.
Get off my lawn.
Get off my lawn. What are you doing there? That's the way I always pictured my mom when I'm not here. But I'm getting stories and finding out that she was like the chatterbox and the fun of the neighborhood.
Well, that's cool.
Yeah, and I'm like, no, I can't imagine that.
I can only imagine.
So the neighbors, like, they've all got their little stories, and the way that they spent time sitting out on the front porch in the summertime. They don't really have porches, I guess. No, they don't have decks either. I don't know what you would call it. Stoops.
Okay, you're just being technical at this point. They were outside.
Yeah. Right. So I got all of that. It was kind of actually amazing. Sam is the pastor who's going to actually do her service and such, and he happened to come just in time to kind of give, I don't know if he knew it at the time or not, because it was a couple hours before, like an hour before, kind of gave last rites. Mm-hmm. Well, I got to talking to him a little bit about more of what was going to happen now, and volunteering up some stuff to maybe through the shelter or whatever he may have. And then the response I got was really kind of different. And I imagine telling him, hey, if you've got a single mom or somebody like that can use some of this stuff, I expected him just to kind of light up and be smiles and say, yeah, I know somebody, or no, I'm going to find somebody though. But I didn't get that response. I got a real solemn response of, okay, I'll check around. And I'm like, I sat back afterwards and I'm like, why did I get that response? Because it wasn't the response in this case that I imagined. I think really what it was is because he was a neighbor, he was a friend. And I think he really took it to heart.
Well, he took it to heart, and she just passed away, and you're already planning on getting rid of things. Most people want to hoard it for a little bit and like be around it, and you've been processing since November. So you've already been going through this in your head, but he was very close to it because he's a friend. So yes, that was, you did not plan for you didn't imagine what his reaction would be. You think that as a professional that he would be able to be detached from it, and he isn't. He's got emotion.
Right. At that moment, he did not detach from it. Mm-hmm. He's a great guy, and yeah, the whole 9 yards. There's nothing I can say, bad about him at all. He done well with Mom. He, all those other kind of things. So, What's that? And
glad-
yeah, it was really awesome that he came early because he wasn't supposed to come until after 2:00. He was here around 10:30, 11, and she passed away at 12:15.
And see, my thing is he came early so she could go.
I honestly, I think so. I honestly kind of believe that. And another piece that I thought, and I don't know the history behind it. I'm going to have to do a little bit more research, but my mom had, and we weren't Native American by any means, but for some reason she had a dream catcher on the wall. And I kind of noticed it once before or whatever, but at one point before she went, my cousin had taken it off the wall and put it on her pillow, which was shortly after the pastor had been in. And I'm like, wow. It kind of gives you the EBGBs thinking about that stuff. Another thing that really throws me is we don't know whether we believe in spirits or ghosts or the reincarnations or whatever. There's all philosophies out there that some people believe in, some people don't. Some don't really know whether they believe in them because they've never experienced them. Okay. You gave me some bit of information too about my dad being here and different things like that. And then once, mom's gone, I'm thinking, okay, did they like leave the house or are they sitting here watching me?
They left.
That's just weird.
They left. They're not hanging out there.
Well,
and happy and gone.
I think so. But I really didn't get that clear feeling that all the coast is clear until like yesterday. I still had that feeling that I was being watched. I still had that feeling of I still need to clean the cupboard off or mom's going to get mad at me.
That's just 50 years of ingrained in you. That's all.
Or while I'm going through things, and that was one of the other things that we wanted to talk about. I think we're actually going to end up skipping a commercial on this one, but one of the other things is going back through the closets and the dresser drawers and the jewelry box and all these kind of things. And there's a lot of really neat things that you find, or I found anyway, and they're just small trinkets and stuff that I remember as a kid that mom and dad kept for whatever reason it was. It really had no significance to my life except for the fact that I remember it being there. One example, I got a few of them here I want to cover, but one example I found is this little stone about yay big, not very big.
You don't have it with you?
I have to get up and go get it. Do you want me to actually go get it?
Go get it, because I think it's cool.
Okay, so while I'm going to get it,
I'm going to keep talking because Brian told me about this rock, and he's like, "There's this rock on my mom's dresser." It's really insignificant, but she's had it for years. And so I said, "What is it?" And so he described this rock. Look at this; it's so cool. But to me, that she kept it over all these years makes it incredibly special. You ready? Mr. Brian? Did you lose?
I'm back.
There you are.
I lost my headset.
Okay, well, show us the rock. Do you see the scene? Well, if you're on Anchor, you're not going to see it. If you're on Apple, but it's a rock painted white background with blue mountains and trees and water. And it's about the length of a thumb, basically. It's not very big and about maybe an inch in width.
It's basically a skipping stone or a piece of shale that's like a skipping stone.
But tell the story on who made it and why. And we'd have no idea why she kept it, but who made it?
Well, here's the interesting part about this. This has absolutely
nothing
to do with my family. Okay. It has a little bit to do with mom's family. However, it's really kind of strange because even the family around here and everything that are so close in that, it really doesn't fit into the piece of the puzzle. And the other part of that puzzle is we don't even know what his name was that painted it. Okay. So my mom had a stepmom, and then her father on his deathbed, while he was sitting in the hospital bed and everything, he painted these stones.
Wait, your stepmom's dad?
Yes.
Okay.
No, not my stepmom's dad.
Your step grandma's dad.
Right. So he would be basically my step grandfather, maybe great grandfather.
Okay.
Yeah, and he painted a whole bunch of these, I guess, while he was laying in bed before he passed away. And for whatever reason, Mom has one, and we have no idea what that connection, because she was never connected to that side of the family.
But she kept it.
But she kept it for some reason.
You can only imagine. Why did she keep it? Was
Right.
it?
Well, I asked her. I actually got that story last Wednesday. So she told me where it came from, and I don't know. She never really said why she kept it. She just told me the story last Wednesday and then passed on Friday. So I was actually kind of glad I asked her.
Yeah. But you can never. I mean, you can only imagine why people keep certain things. I mean, look around your office. What do you have in your office, in your space, in your house? You have no idea why you even kept it. Examine that. Find out why. And just like what Brian's mom did, give them away to who it would matter to before.
Right. That's been kind of the hardest part with what I've had, because there's some stuff that she kind of kept back that she didn't distribute to the family over the last 10 years. And so I keep running across pictures that it's kind of like, okay, I know who it is, but do I keep it or do I not keep it? I feel bad if I'm going to get rid of it. I can only imagine if somebody comes back to a historical thing and says, hey, do you have that picture? So do I want to keep all of these pictures? I'm having to go through all of this. And if you're thinking about prepping for, your son and daughter and what they're going to do when they go through your house, some of the neatest things that she's done is on the back of the pictures. She actually wrote on the back of the pictures who they were. It wasn't every picture, but it was a good portion of them. And seems like all the ones that we've had questions on, they're on the back.
Oh, that's nice.
Oh yeah, it's really neat. One other thing that I found too, she actually had a previous husband prior to my dad, and it wasn't a good marriage. Okay, let's just put it this way. And it was kind of, it was kind of faux pas in a way to talk about. It wasn't bad, but she would talk about it just to certain people, kind of thing. And I actually found her wedding certificate and her divorce decree in one of her drawers. I thought that was interesting, because why didn't Dad tell her to get rid of it? Did he care about? I mean, you have to ask these questions. Did he know that it was here? Did he not care that it was here? Did he think that it was just part of her life and her memories that she needed to keep it? There's all these little questions that who knows why she kept it and how she ended up keeping it. But it was really fascinating, because I found a picture of her when she was 25. I thought it was 19, but she was 25 at the time when she did this. And so that all goes back into all the history of the family and her first son, which wasn't even that husband. Okay. So it's just been crazy, but it's hard to imagine your mom being certain ways. I mean, part of the divorce,
another life.
Yeah.
Lives.
The divorce decree was awesome, because the divorce decree, not only for the reason of the divorce, but she got the 21-inch color television and he got the 59 Ford sedan. I'm like, man, she got the raw end of that deal.
She didn't like the dang car.
I guess not.
She wanted to watch True Grit. She wanted.
And then looking back in time, and I actually talked to a gentleman last night about this that was older, and I thought he might remember it, but he's like in his 70s. But I found a certificate of promotion, and that certificate of promotion is promoting Mom from elementary school to any high school in Indiana.
Any high school.
Any high school in Indiana. It was really neat, because it's a little certificate. It's just as cute as can be. And it says certificate of promotion. So she didn't graduate elementary school to go to high school. She was promoted. So, but I'm guessing, honestly, where that kind of came from was the fact that I have heard stories of one-room schoolhouses. Okay, she is old enough to have been in a one-room schoolhouse, and she, where she graduated from and stuff like that.
Oh, you're in Indiana too.
Yeah, and so I found all kinds of neat things. I found the fact that she's always claimed the class of 1953, but in her records and that she kept, I found out she didn't actually graduate. She had a GED that she picked up in 1959.
So she's actually the class of 59.
I don't know how that works, but she always related and went to all of the class reunions for 53.
Well, that's because that's where her friends were. That's her age group.
Right. So I just thought that was kind of intriguing, because I think I remember her mentioning it one time, but I actually found the documentation. This is her GED.
Well, here's the story about this, people. While we're talking about You Can Only Imagine, talk to your family. Talk to people around you. Learn their stories. I mean, Brian had the advantage of being an entrepreneur and being able to go see his mom in November and staying with her for all these months and questioning her and asking stories and learning more about his family that he never bothered to ask as a kid. If your parents are still alive, if your family is still around and they have knowledge, talk to them. And not just talk and listen. I'm saying talk and record it, because your children, your grandchildren, your children's children, you will never be able to tell them the stories that you hear. So record them, track it, because stories are what brings us together. And it will also help us see how we can do things better in our futures. So when You Can Only Imagine, just imagine what Brian's mom was thinking when she was, going through dropping out of high school and having to get her GED and doing, how am I ever going to tell this to my kid when I tell him he has to go to school? Those kind of things. And you wonder what went through her mind at that. Just think of every time you came home from school with a bad grade and she'd do, you've got to pass. And you thought, wow, she's just being really mean. No, she's like, you got to pass because you don't want to do this GED thing. So you don't know what's in that background. And that's what I'm saying. Ask questions. Find out.
Oh, yeah, definitely ask questions, because there's so many things in the back in people's backgrounds that they don't share on a regular basis. And while I spent this time here, and I think I even mentioned it in one of the posts in my Facebook, when my kind of a little remembrance of her was hearing the stories about who lived here and who she used to go visit as a kid on the weekends, and where it was, the house that she was at, and the house is gone now. Or they used to play on the back porch and, eat the turnips out of the backyard kind of thing. There was so many of those things, and what church and who got married where. And I mean, I've got tons of stuff, and yes, I recorded a good majority of it.
Good.
And I thought about it. I even did it. I don't think she even knew I recorded it, because my phone, and we were driving in the car when we were passing these places, and I hit record on my phone, and I just let it sit on my lap while, on my knee, while she talked and she told me things. One good example is the fact, and it's really weird, and I definitely don't want anybody to judge on this, but she had a child when she was 19. The original story that I had received was the fact that she was 17 and that she gave the child up for adoption. And that was about all I really knew. Well, that child that we're talking about is Kenny, my brother, who I mentioned that I call brother, because he kind of is really, but nowhere near blood. Okay. But what I found out, and I found out the whole true story, was she was actually 19 when she got pregnant and had Kenny in October of 19, whatever it was, 59 or something, 54, I think. Anyway, I found out the story that she was actually 19. And when I found out she was 19, I kind of looked at her like,
why didn't make you younger?
Why didn't you make your own decision and do that? Why did you get rid of him? Because you were 19, you were over 18, you were able to do these things. And remember, back in the day things were different.
Yeah, she wasn't married.
Right. She wasn't married. The things were different back in those days.
And there was a war going on.
No, that would have been over by then.
Yeah, the war was by us.
Right. That would have been over by then. But the interesting part was, she said, when Dad said give it up, you give it up. Dad was in charge. Dad says, I can't feed another mouth, so you can't keep the baby.
But he grew up well in another family. You're tracking.
I mean, yeah. But this is the story that I didn't know.
I'm just real curious why at 17, why they made her younger.
I got the story years ago, remembering 17. So I can't say that I was told 17.
Oh, okay. You're okay. I was like, say, why would you make yourself younger? But okay. But no, and that's why it's important to ask questions and find out, because you can only imagine what the lives of the people around you really are, and how the decisions they made and why they made them. We really need to ask those kind of questions because we need to ask ourselves those questions one day. And by having their perspective and seeing the outcome of what they had, it might help you make your decisions easier.
Right. And it's just, it's amazing. And as our whole topic today, I can only, you can only imagine what your background has, or what your parents' background or your grandparents' background or anything like that. You can hold on to those things, but you only remember them certain ways. But when you ask the questions, you kind of get the clarification on what really happened. I mean, there was a big difference between the age of 17 and the age of 19. Okay. In those days, well, even in these days. So that little detail in my brain got clarified, or else I'd have told that same story forever without, knowing the actual truth to the story. So yeah, definitely, look back. I always recommend look back, and especially since I've been here, I recommend look back, ask the questions, get the stories, get them recorded. And sometimes they're not what we want to hear. Sometimes they clarify what we want to hear. And sometimes they're just plain old fun.
So put our topic back up. Our topic is, I can only imagine. And what we talked about today is, what can you imagine about your business and your life? And what can you imagine about the people in your life that you love, that you don't know their backstories of why things happened the way they did? Ask. As Brian is a financial, what do you call yourself? You're not a financial advisor, but coach. You're a financial coach. And when you do business, you ask people questions, background questions about why and what they want and their dreams and what can they imagine for their future. I mean, he does all this thing. This is the kind of thing Brian does, is he asks questions to find out what you can imagine so he can help you plan for it in the future. So he is in the midst of what he does for people every day right now. And I think it's beautiful, bittersweet, but beautiful.
Good job. I think we're going to call it a day.
Okay, do you want to do the last commercial before we head out?
Well, let's go through them real quick, just names, and then we'll play our outro.
Okay, if you would like to be a sponsor, please contact denimandpearlspodcast@gmail.com. If you would like to be some swag in swagaholic, go to a2promos.com, a2promos.com. If you like to fix on your brain and get a new brain, a better brain, harmonizedbraincenters.com. And if you'd like to get any embroideries, hats, gloves, jackets, you name it, go to ink182.com. And if you are a running fool and you like this running stuff here in Colorado, go to Lyme, LYMEvents, LymEvents.com. And if you're in town in Colorado Springs for March 27th and 28th, there are multiple shows on those 2 days. Go to the Facebook page for Vehicle, Those Thrilling Days of Yesteryears, and sign up so that you can attend, because they are kind of socially distancing there. So definitely go check out the band Vehicle. Sorry.
There we go. All right. Well, I think we're out. What do you think?
I think this was a wonderful show. Thank you, Brian, for sharing your experience, and that it's very important that we need to imagine. Have a great day, everybody. And until next time, we can only imagine.
Peace.
Peace.